What's up, guys? Tyler back on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel. And today we're going to predict week 2 for the college football season. A lot of decent games this week. I know it isn't as action-packed, I guess, as week 1 for some of the marquee matchups, but still some very intriguing matchups for this week. I know a bit like an underrated sleeper game is Appalachian State at Clemson. The luck and the voodoo magic of the Appalachian State Mountaineers, this is what they do. I think they're going to surprise some people and play really well against Clemson, especially Clemson fans, man. Clemson thinks they're going to, walk over Appalachian State. Hang on, not so fast. Kansas, Illinois is another intriguing matchup. I think Kansas wins that game, but and another one I didn't really put on here, Auburn playing Cal Berkeley. Cal is a really good running back. It's kind of really much it. They got pushed around defensively last week. I think Auburn should win that very convincingly, but still, nonetheless, could be an interesting matchup. But yeah, first things first, let's go over our upset pick for Saturday. This one's going to upset a lot of Kansas State fans here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel. Trust me, I see your comments. But yeah, I just want to say Avery Johnson, I'm much higher on him than I think a lot of other people, but kind of let me down in their game against UT Martin. I know Kansas State fans are going to be like, well, he threw 2 TDs and he only threw 1 interception. Well, his QBR was in the 30s. Just wasn't as good as a passer. They had a pretty good run game with DJ Giddens, but, I mean, you're playing an FCS team. You should be pushing them around. Same with Tulane. Their quarterback, Darian Mensah, kind of surprised some people with him starting. He's a freshman QB over Ty Thompson. But this is a game in which, if you look at Kansas State's past, this is a game they always usually lose. They lost to Tulane a couple years ago and then won the Big 12. Last year, they lost to Missouri on the road, probably a team they were better than, on like a fluke 63-yard field goal. No offense, but let's be real here. Would that ever happen again? Probably not. But these are some weird, fluky situations that just happen with Kansas State. I really like this Tulane offense. I think they're going to surprise some people. I think Tulane's a top 5 group of 5 team. And Tulane, if they can get this run game going with Mekhi Hughes, who's one of the most underrated running backs, might even be the most underrated running backs in college football. Watch out for the Green Wave. I think they pull the upset here at home. This is a noon game, a local time of 11 a.m. Give me the Green Wave to pull the upset. This is my upset pick for this week. You can also call this an upset, but I have Iowa State beating Iowa and Kinnick. I'm not sold on Iowa, and a lot of people are upset at me, for not really mentioning Iowa much. Well, here they are. We also talked about them in our live stream on College Game Day for last Saturday, but Iowa fans are beating their chest because they finally scored 40 points or more, and they barely scored that 40 points. They had to do everything in their power just to get that last touchdown there against Illinois State, who's an FCS team. Now, Iowa State struggled to run the ball against North Dakota, so I don't know. I don't really care too much about these two teams playing FCS foes. This is their big one. This is the Cy-Hawk matchup. I like Iowa State just a little bit more because their running back, Suma, I think he's the better running back of the two, and I don't even think that's a hot take. Came on late last year. Rocco Beck's the better QB. They also have a couple much better wide receivers than the year prior. I think this veteran Iowa State team goes on the road and upsets Iowa in a disgusting 16-13 game. I think Cade McNamara makes too many mistakes late in this game. Next up, this is a game that, I don't really think a lot of people are going to stay up and watch, as this game's tip is 10:30 Eastern time, 7:30 local time. How about Arizona State doing kind of the unthinkable? Not only did they whip up on Wyoming, but they won by almost 50 points. I did not see that coming. Boy, was I way wrong. So I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I think both these quarterbacks are a little bit better. One played Eastern Kentucky, but Blake Shapen, former 5-star, highly rated 4-star, somewhere up there. I like Arizona State. I was going back and forth on this game, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I'm going to go with the home team here and give Arizona State the big dub. And I think the winner of this game might surprise some people, while the loser is probably going to be around 3-ish wins, maybe 4. Tough schedule for Mississippi State. And you can also make a case for Arizona State. But I'm going to go with the Sun Devils to win this one. Probably one of the weakest ABC games you'll ever see. Kentucky taking on South Carolina in the first official SEC head-to-head game on ABC. South Carolina should be 0-1, staring down 0-2, while Kentucky had their game just end abruptly with about 20 minutes left of game time. I thought these two quarterbacks coming in were going to be two of the worst in the SEC. It still has potential there. No offense to Brock Vandagriff. I'm a Georgia fan. I hope he succeeds at Kentucky. He's a physical quarterback. He likes to, he can throw the ball around, but he also likes to run in between the tackles and lower his shoulder there. And Kentucky's wide receiving core is probably one of the best it's ever been, especially with Barron Brown, Dane Key, and Macklin there. I like Kentucky. I don't think this game is that close. I went with a defensive game. I'm giving South Carolina's defense a lot of benefit of the doubt. They were able to force so many turnovers and mistakes against Old Dominion, but I don't really think many people care too much about this game, so give me Kentucky 24-6. Another kind of overrated primetime game. This one's at 10 o'clock at night. I think, 7 o'clock local time? So not too late for local, but Oregon falling down the ranks due to a flukish win against Idaho. Dylan Gabriel played honestly fine. It was just some weird instances happen against a real bad FCS team. Idaho went 2-10 a year ago. The biggest worry I'd say for Oregon is that offensive line. They just didn't play that well. Let's just be real here. They're going up against Ashton Jeanty, one of the best running backs in college football. And another underrated thing, actually overrated highlight from this game is the fact that Oregon has never beaten Boise State. You can't compare this Boise State team to any of the mid to late 2000s Boise State teams. I'm sorry. Oregon's going to get the dub. I think they're going to cover. And Boise State's defense is horrible. Just giving up almost 50 points last week. Jeanty kind of bailed them out at times. Yeah. And also, I think Boise State's starting the wrong quarterback. But give me the Ducks here in a bounce-back game. I'll take them in the points. I think it's, 18.5. You can have all of those half points or whatever. I would even take this at 21. I think Oregon's going to blow out Boise State and kind of end that little weird stretch of that Idaho game and a lot of people hating on Oregon. But I think Oregon's going to dominate this game from start to finish. Sneaky good matchup here, as Baylor, I think, is going to be a little bit better than what people think. DeQuan Finn had a kind of a letdown, though, game one. 2 bad interceptions. I forgot who they played. They played an FCS team. So did Utah. Both of them played 2 lower-tier FCS schools. Both blew them out. I think both of them actually won 45. Well, Utah shut them out 45-0. Cam Rising played pretty much perfect. Only had 15 passing attempts. They shared the ball around. That's kind of what you should do. Both teams did. When you play these FCS teams, it is a tune-up game. It's not to worry, to be honest with you, but it's to get some of these other players involved into the game. That's why they're scheduled, as well as it also helps out the FCS schools. If you didn't know that, the FCS schools do get a very good check after playing on the road at wherever. But anyway, I hope DeQuan Finn is able to bounce back here, because I think this is an intriguing matchup. This, once again, man, the Big 12, I hate this. I think I talked about this earlier, but this is a non-conference game, so this doesn't matter in the terms of conference record, which is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. These are 2 Big 12 teams, okay? This could cost Utah, or, it could also, for next week, cost Arizona or Kansas State. or will benefit them. It could cost the team a spot in the Big 12 title game, especially in the Big 12 where it's very competitive. I don't necessarily understand, but for this game, I think it's going to be an interesting line of scrimmage type of deal. I like Utah a little bit better at running back and wide receiver, really mainly the skill positions here. They're also at home. Baylor should have won this game last year. I think Utah does survive yet another scare from Baylor. Something like a 27-20 type game. I actually like the under in this game simply because Utah's going to be more of a line of scrimmage type of deal team. Baylor is kind of a question mark. See what they can do. They don't really have the best running back core, and in fact, it's probably one of the weaker ones in the Big 12. So I kind of expect them to run a lot more RPOs and pass plays than rush plays in this game, especially with that Utah front. Give me Utah 27-20. And up we have Dion taking on Dylan Raiola and Matt Rule's Nebraska Cornhuskers. I kind of want to keep this one short and sweet. The bottom line in this game is it's going to come down to line of scrimmage. This is such a mismatch. It's not even funny. Can Colorado score with Nebraska? I think so, but Nebraska is going to be a top 20 defensive team. They're going to be able to run the football on Colorado. Colorado's line of scrimmage is terrible, and if things go the way I think they will, this could be a disgusting game in which Nebraska kind of does what Colorado did to them last year and just bullies them. And I got Nebraska here. Went with the over here, but 35-20, 38-24. I just think Nebraska is just that much better than Colorado, and it starts on the line of scrimmage. Just a disappointing line of scrimmage day, kind of what I expected against North Dakota State. North Dakota State was able to hold, and they shut down Colorado's rush game. That's just going to be Colorado this year. They don't have the line of scrimmage to compete with teams like Nebraska. I'm sorry. I know they're the more finesse team here, but give me the Cornhuskers at night, at home, 35-20 over Colorado. Could be the best game of the day. Man, this matchup just became incredibly intriguing as Oklahoma State only comes in as, I think, about a 6.5 point favorite. When it opened up, I think it was at 8.5. Oklahoma State didn't really play as well as I thought they would on the offensive line there and even on the defensive line. The issue this season with Oklahoma State is going to be their defense. I think Arkansas is going to be able to score here, especially with Taylon Green. He's the do-it-all type of quarterback, your triple threat. And then they have Jackson at running back, another transfer. I knew Taylon Green was going to be an issue at Arkansas. He is very talented. Transfer from Boise State, a huge loss for Boise State. Just imagine if Boise State had this quarterback this year. Oh, my goodness. They would definitely be a playoff team. They would give Oregon their run for their money on Saturday. But this is a home game for Oklahoma State, kind of a must-win. And for Arkansas, you can kind of say the same because their schedule is relatively hard as well. I was going back and forth on this game. Now, Ollie Gordon, for whatever reason, had 30 touches against South Dakota State. What are you doing, Mike Gundy? There should be no rhyme or reason why he should be having so many carries in which a game you won. You dominated, to be honest. You dominated the scoreboard, maybe not the stats, but you dominated the scoreboard. Why are you giving him 30 carries? I think he's going to exceed 30 touches in this game. And I was going back and forth. I think this might come down to a field goal, but I am going to keep it with Oklahoma State here. I hope I'm wrong. I was back and forth on this game. I think Arkansas is a lot better than what people think. I know they just played a terrible FCS team, and Oklahoma State just played the best FCS team, but I think they keep it within a possession most of this game. In fact, the entire game. Oklahoma State's defense just does enough, but that's the worrisome problem. And Oklahoma State, if you look at their non-conference, it was tricky even before the season. After this, they play at Tulsa before they play Utah. Just a stupid non-conference slate by their athletic department. Again, last year they lost to South Alabama. I will not be surprised if Arkansas wins this game. I think Arkansas covers, but give me Oklahoma State surviving at home. To last, we have Tennessee taking on NC State and Charlotte. Boy, oh boy, NC State, what are you doing? Getting absolutely dominated on the line of scrimmage by Western Carolina until really that end of the fourth quarter when Western Carolina was pretty much gassed, to say the least. Grayson McCall looked okay. Threw a terrible interception. Probably should have thrown 2 or 3 more. This Tennessee defense is much improved. That's kind of what I was saying this preseason and off season. This game just doesn't look favorable at all for NC State anywhere. I originally thought this was going to be a real good game prior to week 1, and then I watched NC State ride that struggle bus. I don't think Dave Doran is as good of a head coach as he is advertised-wise. And then you look at this Tennessee offense. Dylan Sampson's probably going to be the key at running back. I think he's going to be able to run the football. I like Tennessee here. I just like the Vols here. Don't forget, Brew McCoy's still on this team, a pretty good wide receiver there. Dante Thornton Jr., Squirrel White. This receiving core is just going to be a little bit too much for NC State. This offense for Tennessee, it was Nico at QB, their most talented quarterback they've had in a very, very, very long time. Give me the Vols here, 34-24. The game of the week, Texas travels to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan. This is College Game Day's game. This is big noon kickoff. Listen, I'm just going to say this. If Texas goes down on their first drive, scores a touchdown, then forces a 3-and-out for Michigan, this game is over. Michigan's not going to be able to score that much on Texas, unfortunately. And it's not because of Texas has one of the best defenses in college football. It's just because that's how bad Michigan's offense is. Donovan Edwards, what happened to the Don? I mean, he's averaging about 2.8 yards per carry in his past 14 games, just absolutely horrific. He's kind of been on a milk carton, so Mullins looks like he's the running back number 1. Warren at QB just didn't look good. They didn't really let Orgy throw the ball. Maybe Sharon Moore is just hiding the offense, but there you got into a situation where Michigan was up only 6 points in the fourth quarter against Fresno State. Kind of got bailed out with that pick 6. Fresno State still covered, by the way. I know Michigan fans were upset that I thought that game was going to be close. Well, there you go. I actually think this game's going to be much closer than what people think. I think Michigan will compete for most of this game. In fact, all of this game. It's a tough kickoff time here for Texas, coming on the road in a hostile environment. And I think Michigan is able to limit Texas to a lot of field goal opportunities. But in the end, go with the new SEC team and the Texas Longhorns. I really hope I'm wrong here because I'm kind of sick of Texas fans thinking they're going to come beat Mercy Rule every SEC team this year and go 16-0. I think Texas is significantly worse at running back. Obviously, they had too many injuries on their running back core. But in the front 7, I don't think they're as good. So I think Michigan can move the football just enough to get that 16 points. If they can somehow hold Texas under 20, this could be a much more interesting game. But in the end, I like Texas pulling away and winning this game by 7 to 10-ish points. I went with 7. I think this line is at 9.5 or some crazy line. Any type of odd number is weird. Like 9 points in football is very odd. So give me Texas, but let me know what you guys think here. This is obviously the biggest game of the weekend. Michigan fans saying this is the biggest game of their season. Oh, geez. I mean, maybe, I don't know about that, but it's definitely a deciding factor what's going to happen. So I guess it is your biggest game. I always think Ohio State is, but nonetheless, it's still a real big game for Michigan. At worst, it's their 3rd biggest. But anyway, let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you think I'm way wrong? Do you think I'm right? Let us know down below, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.